to you and the Democratic Party, and what do you feel like has to be delivered pretty early on to justify that mandate?
I think that the mandate that I perceive, having won with that significant of a margin, is to focus on the things that I talked about on the campaign trail. So affordability, strengthening our public schools, the safety of our communities, and frankly, a desire to see people actually getting things done, working together, calming the chaos. I have read, and there's been quite a few people who have voiced their opinions as to why it is that they voted for me. A number of letters to the editor where people will say, I may not agree with her on everything, but I appreciate and respect her steadiness. Or I think that she can, lead the state. I may not like every policy that she put out or that she may put out, but. And so I recognize that my mandate is for me to be steady, to be focused on growing Virginia, to be focused on being the principal cheerleader and salesperson of our Commonwealth when it comes to bringing investment and bringing jobs and strengthening our economy and standing up for Virginia, whether it be proactively or in response to attacks that might be coming in the form of bad legislation out of Washington or bad policy out of the White House. But then it is also delivering on the legislative priorities that I spoke about, affordability principally in housing, healthcare, and energy. And I think that notably with the members of the House of Delegates, incoming members of the House of Delegates where we flip seats, so many of them were talking about the very same thing. They might have had bills here or there that were different that they were highlighting or some issues specific to their local community. But I think the mandate is very much the same.
Now, in talking to Republicans, just prepping to say, what are you most concerned about now that there is a Democratic trifecta in the state? Someone kind of expressed to me that they were afraid that you might abandon the centrist lane that you ran on and maybe pressured to take on more liberal stances, more progressive stances. And there's some people who actually argue that there's no way that she's going to be able to stand up to her party because there's just so much at stake in Virginia. And you heard the conversation with Speaker Scott, who was like, let's go full bore on this redistricting issue. So how do you plan to stand up to your party if you feel like that they're going too far to the left, which is not where you typically occupy?
Well, I think I have a very long history of standing up to my party when I was in Congress. But I'm a Democrat. I believe in so many of the things that my fellow Democrats believe in. I want to strengthen our public schools. I want to ensure that any kid anywhere in Virginia has all the opportunity in the world for success, that families that are struggling to put food on the table feel both that their state government cares for them, but also feel some relief that we, in the midst of the challenges that are incoming because of changes to health care, principally through H.R. 1, that here in Virginia we're setting an example about lowering prescription drug costs and creating real room for reforms against, the middlemen that drive up prescription drugs. And so just as a series of examples, but I think what people miss is we do have a large number of Democrats, right? 64. I think it's the largest since the 80s. But what we also have is a lot of people who flip seats, a lot of people who come from toss-up seats, a lot of people who, frankly, were elected in the type of place where I was elected. I was the first Democrat when I was elected to Congress to win my district since 1968. And so I constantly had voices and people telling me, I agree with you, and then also, I disagree with you. And so I think it's important to recognize we got that big of a majority because there are a lot of people who want to focus on the brass tacks of governance.
Sure. No, look, I understand it, but one example. I bring up redistricting. Look, in the summer, you said that, you were basically open to the option of redistricting, but not necessarily for it, right? You said, quote, what they're doing at this moment is keeping the option alive, taking action for the future. But earlier in the you were like, no, I'm not for it. So now that Virginia's already taken that step, where do you stand? And are you going to say Don, 10-1 is way too much. Come on now.
Well, so there's a couple pieces to this on this particular topic. One, the calendar is tight. And for me, I want to win. And I won the 1st district and the 2nd district in November. And so with or without any sort of redistricting, I have my eyes on those districts, and I know we can win them this November. So to be very clear, I want to flip seats in the House of Representatives, and I know that we can because I just won those districts.
But you feel like redrawing the maps is the way to go?
No, but as it relates to what Don or what the Speaker talked about and what's happening in Texas and North Carolina, I do think it's important that Virginia leave open the option. And we have a multi-year process or a multi-step process in order to do any type of redistricting. So they've taken the first of 3. First step, second step. The third step is the people get to vote. And so at this point in time, I think leaving options open, continuing through the process, it makes sense because we still see other states taking steps to make real change in the space of redistricting. And so Virginia being able and reserving the option to be able to respond, I think there's value in that, but ultimately nothing happens unless the people actually vote for it. And that's another question between the timing, right, of actually getting anything done before 2026. Are you
going to campaign on it? I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop Democrats at this point. Republicans don't have the numbers to stop it, so they could move forward with maps. And then, are you going to be involved with the, letting voters know, like this is something you need to come out for sometime in 2026 before the general election to vote on, so that the state legislature can draw these maps?
I think this is when I'll reflect on the words of Governor Gilmore and Governor Wilder, who said you've got to focus on the things that you campaigned on. And I campaigned on affordability. I campaigned on improving our schools. I campaigned on basic governance. And so that is where I will be spending every minute of my energy into the future. And right now, if the General Assembly chooses to move forward, as I believe they will, then they'll move forward with the next vote, and then it will go to the people. And I will spend that time in session focused on getting the bills through that will meaningfully impact people's lives and be responsive to the legislation and the priorities that I pushed. And I look forward to campaigning with candidates who I know can win in the future, regardless of what might happen with redistricting.
So it's not a hard no, you wouldn't necessarily be out there, but you said you have other focuses right now. Is that would be my accurate statement?
I mean, the accurate statement is that the entirety of my campaign was focused on making a difference in the lives of people here in Virginia.
Okay.
And you got to be able to do multiple things. Lots of things come at you. But if I'm telling you what I will wake up thinking about and go to bed thinking about, the minute I'm thinking about anything else or this or that, I'm not thinking about the things that I know for the folks who are working 2 or 3 jobs. What they need in this moment is a governor who is focused on the things that drove them to the polls. And if those same people care deeply about ultimately the choice to redistrict or not lies with those same people, and if they head to the polls, they can vote yes, they can vote no, or they can stay home.
Okay. All right. I know you said you're going to unveil some of your economic stuff next week. Is there anything you could share with us, some specifics about what you feel like can really jumpstart the economy here?
Yeah, well, I want to just speak for a moment to what it is that Senator McDougal and Speaker Scott were talking about, right? Issues of affordability, bringing investments to Virginia, in terms of continuing to strengthen the economy, bringing investments, bringing new jobs, bringing manufacturing to Virginia matters. And in terms of the discussion of renewable energy, right, but all those new jobs, whether they're in manufacturing, it requires power. Virginia is the largest net importer of energy at the moment, and we need to increase our generation here in the Commonwealth. Speaker Scott mentioned it. I support varied forms of generation, but if you're going to put small modular reactors, which we have coming to Virginia, that's still years and years down the road. If you're going to put any sort of natural gas plant, that still takes multiple years. One of the fastest ways that you can get to generation is through solar. And so from just an investment in sort of efficiency of time, recognizing that renewable energy doesn't just generate energy, it can do so quickly, is important. But looking at storage goals, increasing our storage goals, recognizing that the ways that we can create greater stability in the grid, which is really, truly important, not just to consumers, but to bringing